In 2015, this woman wanted the tiniest waistline in the world. Pixie Fox wore a corset every day, giving her an 18-inch waist.
It is not as bad as it looks.
She doesn't already have the smallest waist in the world? Corseting has been around for probably centuries, and this is where a woman wears a very, very tight, essentially, corset, and the idea is that you can literally displace the inner organs to give somebody a near impossibly tiny waist.
Just hold on and suck in.
Now, technically, there's no evidence that I've seen that this actually can cause significant illness for somebody, but you can have issues, you can imagine, with constipation, with GI type issues, because once again, those organs are kind of misplaced and maybe they're not moving, the gut isn't moving quite as naturally as it normally would.
The then 25-year-old ate small meals to keep her waist small, but that wasn't enough. She wanted to have 6 ribs removed.
What? Rib removal is almost like an urban legend in plastic surgery. You don't hear about it very often. I think there are very few plastic surgeons who do this because it's dangerous and honestly just does not make a lot of sense.
At that point in her life, Pixie had already had over a dozen cosmetic procedures, including liposuction on her inner and outer thighs, a Brazilian butt lift, 4 breast jobs, 4 nose jobs, lip fillers, cheek fillers, 2 eyelid lifts, a mini brow lift, Botox, and permanent makeup.
That is a ton of work that she had done. Now, they listed a lot of things, but I'm not seeing anything listed for her tummy. It looks like she's had liposuction to her tummy as well. That should probably, I assume, be added to this list too.
Indianapolis cosmetic surgeon Dr. Barry Epley marked Pixie in advance of the rib reduction. He said removing the 6 ribs would not pose a health risk.
I don't think there's anything unethical about doing the procedure as long as whoever is doing it has experience, can do it safely.
I would disagree. This is not a surgery that I believe is ethical. So what is the danger of removing ribs for a patient? Well, the ribs are there to protect your inner organs. And so the lower ribs are there to protect the inner organs that are part of the upper part of the abdomen, like let's say your liver and your spleen. So what happens if you remove those ribs and then somebody punches her or she gets struck really hard in the liver or the spleen? Could she develop a life-threatening injury because those ribs were removed?
On surgery day, Pixie made her way to the OR.
Yeah, I'm perfectly ready.
The operation took 4 hours.
This is the last one, rib number 6.
Then Pixie was wheeled out of the OR. She told Inside Edition she had no qualms about her body modifications.
Absolutely zero judgment for Pixie, for the patient, because it's her body and whatever she wants to do with it, that's her business. But as far as a plastic surgeon performing this operation, in my opinion, I think it's going too far. Everybody has their limit of what they feel is reasonable to perform, but for me, removing ribs, that's going a step too far, and it's nothing that I myself would ever do, or I would never encourage my patients to consider it.
This woman said she'd wanted to make a change for years. She wanted a smaller forehead.
I am so ready to have this done.
To get rid of more than an inch of her forehead, Jenna Bentley opted for a rare forehead reduction.
So is your forehead really that long? Well, the average woman's forehead is about 2.3 inches from the top of your brow to the actual forehead hair. In a male, that's about 2.4 inches. Now, I measure about 2.7 inches, unfortunately. So what does she measure at? Let's find out.
Beverly Hills plastic surgeon Dr. Michael K. Obeng met with Jenna about the operation. He drew a line on her forehead showing where her new hairline would be.
That is a lot of forehead skin to remove. Now, this is an operation that is kind of like a brow lift. And when we do brow lifts, typically I do it as an endoscopic surgery where you have 5 small incisions behind the hairline. But you can also do it as an open forehead lift where you make an incision right in front of the hairline. The big issue with this operation, and why I would encourage people to really be cautious if you're going to consider a forehead lift like this, is because it leaves a scar right at the front of your hairline. Now, if you have hair that recedes, that scar is going to be visible. Doesn't matter how you cut that, it's never going to be completely invisible, and you should be able to unfortunately see it. Personally, I have never seen an open forehead type of a scar like that I have liked.
Jenna's forehead was 4 inches tall.
All this is coming up.
Dr. Obeng would remove 1.5 inches.
So that kind of makes sense. It doesn't look to me, looking at her, that her forehead is that long, but 4 inches is definitely on the long side. Although if your forehead is 4 inches long, it doesn't mean that you have to have surgery. It just means that you may be ahead of the curve.
We're going to move this skin down. We're going to remove all this strip. Right, so let's do it.
Dr. Obeng cut in a zigzag pattern to help the incision look more natural. The operation took over 2 hours.
Making a Z-plasty type of an incision, and that is an incision that basically goes like this, is a way to kind of break up that scar to try to hide it a little more than a straight line scar, which is what most people do. That being said, I still don't recommend this procedure unless you really, really need it, because that scar can definitely be visible. And once again, if your hair recedes back, then that scar is going to have nothing to hide it.
I am beyond excited.
The bandages came off.
Oh, wow.
The measuring tape showed that Jenna's forehead was about half the height it used to be.
And it feels so weird, but it's like a good weird.
Then Jenna got to look in the mirror.
I'm ecstatic. I am so happy.
Well, she's happy now because that distance is definitely shorter, but will she be happy 3 or 6 months from now as that scar heals? I hope so.
In 2016, reality TV star Mama Youn wanted to get rid of her double chin.
My kids joke about it as like turkey neck, or they'd be like gobble gobble.
She went to Beverly Hills plastic surgeon Dr. Sheila Nazarian for a procedure known as CoolSculpting.
Now, I know Dr. Sheila Nazarian. Dr. Sheila Nazarian's a good friend of mine. I like Dr. Nazarian, but there ain't no way this CoolSculpting is going to take care of Mama Youn's neck. Zero chance of that.
The machine literally freezes off the fat.
What we're going to do is we're going to address the fat all the way around your neck.
CoolSculpting has been around for a long time, and it works by basically freezing the fat below the skin.
It's frickin' freezing in here.
Now, the skin itself is much hardier than the fat underneath it, and so when you chill it to a certain temperature, those fat cells can crystallize, they essentially die, and your body clears it naturally. The skin, which overlies it, is much more hardy, and so it typically is not damaged. The issue that I have with doing this procedure on Mama Youn is that you can reduce the thickness with CoolSculpting by maybe 20%. With a neck like Mama Youn's, that's going to be like spitting in a lake. It's not going to do anything significant to her neck.
First, the areas to be freezed were marked. Next, a numbing cream was applied.
When I apply this, it's just gonna grab and pull a little bit of this.
Then Mama Youn was strapped in
Now it's going to get a little bit cold, and that's it.
and was told not to move for an hour.
So if you have a little bit of extra fat in the double chin area, then this can definitely help it. It's also used in other parts of the body, like the abdomen, like the arms, and really any area that you've got stubborn, small areas of fat that you want to reduce. In this situation with Mama Youn, honestly, if she came to see me, she said, hey, I don't like my neck, I'd tell her that really the only option for you is to do a face and neck lift. Anything less than that is going to be very disappointing. She's going to feel bad that she spent the money and saw very little results with it. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, not everybody wants a face and neck lift, of course, but I think the big thing to keep in mind is being realistic with her and saying, okay, if you want to do this CoolSculpting, you can spend $1,000, $2,000 on it and get this much change. Is it really worth it? And if she signs on then, because maybe she got this done for free, then hey, by all means, more power to her.
All right, we're gonna take this off now.
With one side of the neck down, it was time to freeze the other side. After another hour, the doctor said they were all done.
After you get CoolSculpting, it kind of feels like the area is completely numb and it feels literally like a stick of butter. I had it done to my tummy and it's such a weird sensation. In my office, we use Sculpture, and that uses a laser to heat up the fat to get rid of it. The benefit of Sculpture over CoolSculpting is that there's no risk of PAH. That's paradoxical adipose hyperplasia. Approximately 1% of the people who get CoolSculpting find that the fat does not reduce in size, it actually gets thicker.
Of course I'm no happy.
Now let's take a peek at what Mama Youn's final results are after the CoolSculpting.
The fat cells go away over time. It would take Youn several weeks before she would see results.
Where are the results? Are you surprised they didn't show her results? So these are some unusual plastic surgeries. But what about people who have plastic surgery to look like celebrities? That's